Hello, everyone. This is Eric Bastien from Be Your Best Self Coaching. It is so wonderful to have you here join us today. I'll give you a little bit of information, and we're so looking forward to having this webinar. We're going to be sharing some great information on the law of success. So when two or more people come together in conversation, a synergy happens, and ideas that would not otherwise come to mind reveal themselves. And that is the magic of the mastermind. Today, we're here to use the power of a mastermind to provide you with real action steps that you can apply immediately. We're a group of life enhancers. We're highly trained, deeply intuitive, and we have a passion for helping people. We're here to help you to take the steps to live a life that you absolutely love living. Now, we're not doctors or therapists, and it is important that you seek medical direction from licensed doctors in regard to any medical conditions. We simply offer thought patterns or alternative thought patterns, not with the intent to replace medical advice in any way, shape, or form, but to simply enhance understanding of yourself. And I have Athina, who's going to be coming on in just a moment here.
Hello. Yes. Thank you very much. My name is Athina Salazar, and I am the Chief Possibility Officer with my company, Life to Design. And I'm here with Mastermind Magic to share information with you on our Working with the Law series. So just some housekeeping tips. On your screen, you'll be able to see an area where you can chat. And if you're watching this in a replay, you'll see a little box on the side where you can input your questions for us, and then we can respond to those for you. Also, on the top of your screen, there you will probably see a reconnect button. So if for some reason the video freezes or anything like that, you can click that and refresh. So then the screens will be refreshed. You may see some links on the page, which are for Facebook, Twitter, things like that. You can share this video to entice your friends to come and join. We would love that. And also we will be putting up our link to our Facebook page, so you will always be aware of different tips from us, as well as when we're going to be having these webinars. So wanted to let you know that. And today we are part of the Working with the Law series. So it's going on for this whole year. We're taking one universal law every month and going over that to provide you with our perspective. So today we're going to be covering the law of success. And Andrea is going to come on and she's going to walk us through a lesson on that. And the other two of us that are here today, myself and Eric and Andrea, are going to give you our perspectives as we go through the lesson. So Andrea, come on up. All right.
Hello. I'm Andrea from Inspired Life Mastery, and we are going to go through the law of success today. Let me pull up those slides. Oh, Athina. It doesn't, oh, okay, there it is. Okay, got it. All right. So the law of success is a really important one to start to get to be familiar with, because this is what's going to propel you forward in all of your goals. And it states, the first thing it states is, he or she who thinks he can. So true self-help, self-discovery, self-knowledge, and the proper instruction in applying those faculties and using your forces will advance any person. So you really have to be in touch with yourself, and know where you want to go and take those steps to advance. Does anybody else have anything to say about that?
Yes, when you were talking about advancing and discovering, it's really about self-awareness and having awareness about any situation that you're in. If there's a situation where you're like, whoa, wait a minute, I didn't mean to respond in a certain fashion, it's really having the ability to observe yourself. So many times as humans, we have that ability to actually be interacting with our environment, but also watching over ourselves. We're able to observe what it is that we're doing. So the more that you're able to discover things, about yourself and see yourself from different perspectives, you can make the choice of exactly which direction that you want to go in and be able to continue to move forward.
Exactly. And I just want to add, thank you very much. And I just wanted to add that there's one word that comes to mind as well, and that's the word faith. Faith in yourself and faith in the universe, and that we're all sort of connected. So it's important that you have faith in that. So when you say you can, you're not necessarily doing it alone. You're kind of doing it with the whole universe on your side, with everyone sort of helping you to achieve whatever your goal is, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And so it's important to remember that, to remember the word faith and applying that.
Yeah, when you think you can, that marshals all the forces in that direction.
Exactly.
And you may not feel that you can see them. That's the key, is that you're not going to see them out in your current manifestation, like what you're seeing with your eyes and your ears and everything. It's actually what you're seeing in your mind. That's where the self-discovery comes into play, and the awareness, because you can shift that on your thought patterns in order to create what it is in your environment that you can actually see. So
and that's
exactly
where the like comes in. Yeah. Yep. Okay. And success, therefore, is within the reach of every aspiring person. That's the key word. The person that is aspiring to get to a certain place. You know, you can have all the desires you want, but unless you're actually moving towards them with the aspiration and expectation of having that thing or being that thing or doing that thing, then nothing's going to happen.
Right, and that's true. Something that comes to mind while you're talking about this, Andrea, is the difference between motivation and inspiration. Because when somebody is motivated, that's more externally focused. So you may have gone to something and it motivated you to do something, or maybe your boss told you something to get something done by a certain day, and that put that fire underneath you to finish it. That's a motivation. That's an external drive. And here, the difference between inspiration is something that it's internal. You're inspired to do something, and even if it's a very difficult situation, you're going to have that drive and that aspiration to finish what it is that you started. So it's an internally focused situation, which is what they're referring to here, is if you have that inspiration and you're aspiring to go to where you are of something that you can't see presently, then like Andrea was saying, all of those things that you can't see are going to line up for you. And the right people are going to come into your life, the right resources in order to help you move forward. So I think, Eric, you were mentioning something.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say that that if you look at the word inspiration, you find in spirit within that word. So it's all about creating something within yourself, right? Creating it in your thoughts, and then eventually you'll manifest it, into physicality. You'll manifest it in your life, and it's a very important as well. There's a nice saying that about when it comes to goals and goal setting, that it's important to know where you're going. A sailor needs to know where they're going, otherwise they won't have any favorable winds, right? You'll just be sort of sailing around in circles. So it's very important to know exactly where you're going to end up and to move in that direction. So that's where the aspiring comes in.
Aspiring, right. Okay, we good?
Yeah, and there was something else that just came to mind while we were mentioning this. I went through with a client where she works for another company, but she was having a really hard time creating a vision for herself. So the situation was, I gave her an example. I said, with a company, they have a mission, they have, why they're doing the business that they're doing, and they've set that anchor. out in the front of them to say, this is what we're striving for. So any strategic planning, any movement that the business is going to make is in alignment to where that anchor is out in front of them. So like Eric was saying with the sales, there's not the sales aren't up. You don't know where you're going. You don't know your direction. So she doesn't have an anchor out in front to say, this is what I'm aspiring to. So it's the same situation that Eric was talking about, where you don't have a direction. Your sales aren't up. You're not going into that direction. So she feels like she's spinning, in that way. So it's very important to set those anchors in front of you as a visual anchor in your mind. This is the direction that I'm going, and keeping true to that, and making sure that's something that inspires you, like we're talking about. So then you're being drawn to that. It's actually pulling you, as opposed to a motivation, which is pushing you to do something. So you want to make sure that you feel pulled to do it. You almost like have a calling to do that.
Right. Okay. So you cannot rise into something better or greater unless you do something about it. So, positive thinking and all of this visioning is necessary and the first step, but action is where it becomes important. And our favorite thing is do what you can where you are with what you have. And if you just keep doing that and saying that to yourself every time you feel stuck, do what I can where I am with what I have, then you'll be amazed at how far you can get towards any goal. And that's how you get to something much greater.
Yeah, and I know that with myself, there's been situations in the past, up until now, where you have an expectation for yourself. You have a high standard for yourself. Like, I should have, already accomplished whatever it was, by a certain day, or, I should have done this, I should have done that, and that's where I should be. Really be mindful not to beat yourself up. Do what you can with what you have, because as you're growing and progressing, you're going to be at a different vantage point. So you're going to be climbing your mountain, and then all of a sudden you get to something that's like, oh, well, what I was worried about is completely irrelevant to my situation now. Now I actually have better tools, I have better resources, and maybe you connected with people that can help you progress further than you even thought that you could. So just being supportive of yourself and doing that, but actually to do something. So that's the key, like what Andrea was saying, do that baby step. What you think is small could actually be moving things in the proper direction.
And I was just going to add as well, there's a book that I have from Price Pritchett called U Squared, and he uses the word pursue. So you want to pursue your dream. You want to actually, you're looking for it, right? So you are going to be taking action. You are going to be moving towards your dream by pursuing it. It's just another way of another word that you can actually use. And I was going to add something else to what you were just saying, Athina. And it's all about, you know what, I've lost my train of thought. So maybe it'll come back and I'll be able to share that with you soon.
Yeah. And the other thing that I was thinking of is really our job is the journey. Our job is the journey of where we're going, because you may have had the different situations in your life where maybe it was a particular car that you wanted to purchase, or something like that. And you worked really hard to get that. And then you've had it for a year, 2 years, and it doesn't really give you that same excitement that it did before you had it. So it's really that journey of where you're going is very important.
And obstacles, this is what I was going to say, any obstacles that you encounter, or if there's any failure or what you deem as failure, you can sort of reframe that and use that to say that's actually feedback. It just means that you weren't on target. You were actually sort of deviating from that. So you've got to look at that information to say, okay, you know what? I was striving for this. Obviously, it didn't happen. What did I do? What can I learn from this? And basically reshift and start moving in the direction of your goals, in the direction of your dreams. So Price Pritchett actually uses a line. He says, a rocket ship going to the moon will fail itself to the moon 90% of the time, right? It'll self-correct all the way to the moon. So it's just another way of looking at it.
Right. Yeah. And there was one other thing was with some people might say, well, why am I procrastinating? Like, I want that, but there's procrastination. What's stopping me from doing what it is that I want to do? And that may mean that here's your direction and it's straight here, but things in your life are off center. You're coming from this direction as opposed to being in alignment to where you're going. So it could be where you have if you have hesitation, if you have the feeling of constriction as you're attempting to do something, the best thing to do would be to sit back, reevaluate where things are at. It's almost like recalibrating yourself. It's almost like your computer has all of these things going on and it freezes up. Just restart. Just get back to zero, figure out where you're wanting to go again, and then that inspiration and motivation is going to come. If you stay out there too long in procrastination, obviously you're not going to move forward. But if you're out there that long, it may mean that you're actually going in the wrong direction, and maybe somebody else or some external factor is motivating you to move forward, as opposed to it coming from you. That happens a lot of times when high schoolers are going into college, and their parents are the ones that saying, you have to do this, you have to do this. So you're all like, I know I'm supposed to do it. That's not really what I want to do. Maybe I want to go out, start working, go to trade school. Maybe I want to explore some things before I really decide, so that's more of the direction and their inspiration, as opposed to their family motivating them. So when you feel that procrastination coming on, that's where self-reflection, self-discovery that we talked about in the beginning is highly important, is for you to be able to find that for yourself, and then you'll have that center again and be able to move forward.
Exactly. Okay. Success is bringing oneself and one's actions to a higher standard than the ordinary human standard. And that's you're bringing yourself above anything that you've ever known. That's when your nervous system goes crazy, right? And you're like, oh, what am I doing? And how do I do this? And it's very important to stay very focused on what it is that you want and come from that dream, and ask yourself, who is that person? What does that person say? What does that person do? How does that person walk? That is out there, bring it back here so that you can become that person. And it's a higher standard that you're going to be living from, where ordinary people that don't think these thoughts and don't use these tools don't even know to do.
Yeah. And also too, with that is when you are looking for somebody to learn from somebody, say you have different skill sets, like Andrea was saying, you see somebody, there's certain habits that they do, there's certain, techniques that they have, maybe their morning routine is a certain way. And it's important for you to actually don't copy them. We're not looking to copy people and be a copycat of someone. We're actually seeking to learn from what it is that they're doing and incorporate that into who you are. So for example, there's the Miracle Morning. There's a book called The Miracle Morning, and there's a certain procedure that they talk about going through. And really they encourage you to adapt what we're providing as information and adapt it to what works for you. So you could maybe just take some pieces out of that, and maybe there's other people with morning routines that work for you, and you piece those all together. So by doing that, you're actually moving from the ordinary human standard of let's copy what people are doing and stay in that realm. And you're actually creating that higher standard for yourself because you've adapted that to you. You've decided on what it is that's important for you and then what that's going to look like. So you're like, for me, this is what I decided that I'm going to do. And then you've made those steps to do that. So you've actually raised that rung for yourself.
And the other thing, it's very important to remember, successful people are willing to do things that unsuccessful people are not willing to do. And that might mean, working all week or working late at night or not going to an event or going to an event, or it means going and being willing to do whatever it takes that's safe and legal to get to where you want to go. And that might mean some extraordinary efforts.
And I just want to say something as well. Earl Nightingale came up with the definition of success, which sort of talks exactly about what it is that we're talking about right now. He came up with this definition in 1951, and I'll just read it because it's a great definition. It says, he said that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. In other words, the idea is worthy of you because you're training your life for it, right? So it's not just an idea, it's an ideal. James Allen, who wrote a book called As a Man Thinketh, his definition of success is, he said that an ideal is an idea that you've fallen in love with. That's key. You want to be motivated. You want to be emotionally involved. You want to be in love with your dream or with your ideal, right? So look at those qualities that like you said, Athina, you don't want to necessarily copy someone, but you do want to emulate that quality and sort of bring it into your being. And so anyways, those are great definitions of success that really coincide with this particular slide.
And whenever you copy someone, like specifically, it doesn't stick because it's not authentically you. So you really have to take an idea and incorporate it into your being and make it your unique thing so that it is part of you. Those are the things that stick and stay with you. Okay. Fear. That's always one of our favorite subjects. Fear is largely the cause for failures. And the only known remedy for fear is understanding. When we understand something or we can anticipate something, there is no fear. I just recently watched a video about an astronaut, and he said, they train for every eventuality, every single one, so that when all these scary things happen, they're prepared and there is no fear. So when disasters happen out in space that could mean their lives, they have no fear and they just do their job. So when we can manage fear and just let it be out of the way, we can just move forward with ease and grace.
Yeah, exactly. And fear, you can have it stand for false evidence appearing real.
Right.
So it's out there, but that doesn't mean that you can't do something. It's just that you don't understand all of those things yet. So that's why it goes back to self-discovery, self-awareness, and having an awareness about what it is that you're doing, why you're doing it, why does something work a certain way, and thinking about that, and then that fear can be removed. And when you're moving forward in your progression of what you're doing towards the success that you're looking for, be mindful that as you move forward and you have a better understanding where fear used to show up and it's not showing up anymore, don't go looking for the fear.
Right.
Just allow it to be gone and say, oh, I'm over it. and then move forward. Don't go looking for it.
Because if you look for it, you will find it.
Absolutely. And Ralph Waldo Emerson said that when it comes to fear, it goes, do the thing that you fear doing. You're certain. So if you're really afraid, if there's something that you want to do and you're doing it for the very first time, it's normal that fear will come up because you've never done it. But do it anyway. If you know that this is going to bring you success and that other successful people are doing it, do it anyways. And just by the repetition of doing it, eventually the fear will go away. And like you said, like both of you said, just don't think about the fear, right? You want to make sure that you take that emotion and you, especially if you're comfortable doing something, just make sure that you put it aside. Just to give you a personal example, I'm a member of Toastmasters, and where I've got an opportunity to speak every single week. I can tell you when I started, not that long ago, just about a year and a half ago, I was terrified. Every time I'd get up there and speak, I was absolutely terrified. And with time, I mean, yeah, you still have the butterflies. There's always a little bit of nervousness, a little bit of anxiousness, I guess. But it was actually, I was able to convert it into something exciting instead, right? And so I'd get up there. So my mind would be able to think, right? Sometimes when you've got fear, it's like somebody puts a straitjacket on your head or on your mind, and you just nothing, your thoughts don't come to you or anything. But after a while, you're able to convert that energy and make it exciting instead, and then you're able to think on your feet. So,
and we could do an entire hour just on fear. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
It's a big subject because we make it big. It's not really big, and well, there's lots of different ways to sequester fear away. But just take a deep breath and know if you think you can. That's what we started with. If you think you can, you can, and just have faith.
Fear never. Yeah. Fear doesn't actually go away. You just have to. It goes on the journey with us. We have to befriend our fear, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Okay. Now we have half of our failures are that this is important, that we pull in at the moment when we should be letting all of the forces out, giving it their full vent and making that leap. There's a great video about, who's that guy that does the game show that Richard Dawson used to do? Family Feud. The new guy that's doing it. He does this great video on taking a leap.
Steve Harvey.
Yep. Steve Harvey, thank you. About taking a leap, and actually, if you have something you want to do, you've got to take that leap. And you may have a parachute, but that parachute's going to have holes in it, and you're going to get scraped up, and you're going to get bruises, and you're going to feel like you know what. And that's part of the journey. Like Athina said, it's the journey that is the important part of getting where you're going. Having that thing at the end is great, but the journey getting there is the real learning in everything. So you have to take that leap. When you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm going to pull back. No, take the leap forward.
Yeah, it's similar to if you're going to jump across to the other side of an area where you have to let go on one side. You can't leave one foot on this mountain edge. If you fully want to jump over, you're not going to make it.
That's right.
So you want to make sure that you just release what you want to leave. You make the decision, and then you jump. Yeah, don't do it with hesitation. No hesitation.
Exactly. And a lot of times when it comes to progressing towards our goal, we do it incrementally. And by actually taking a leap, you may actually do what's called a quantum leap. You may actually end up skipping several steps along the process. So that's it's important to take a leap. And you have to know where you're going to land. You have to be clear in terms of where you're going to go. But that's what a lot of successful people do. They just take a leap. They take a quantum leap, and the next thing you know, they're you know, they're there exactly where they want to be.
And there's a terminology where you may have heard collapsing timeframes. So something may take what you perceive that could take 5 years, 10 years to do, but with the right movement, knowing the right people, being open to the right processes, all of a sudden that could be 3 years, that could be 2 years, you know. So it was similar in last year. I was just thinking that I would like to write a book someday. You know, I'm thinking that's 5, 10 years down the road, but actually I'll be having a book before the end of the year. So I'm all like, that's fantastic. And I had no idea, but I put it out there, but that is something that I would love to do. And things came together, met the right people, got the right resources together, and we're able to make it happen. So that's another tip as well.
You know, I made a decision. I've wanted to move for, you guys know, for a couple of years now. And I keep saying, I want to move, I want to move. Well, you know, a month ago, I made the decision, I'm moving. Did what I could where I was with what I had. Put my condo on the market, and within 12 hours, I got an offer that I wanted. And I found a house that I wanted that I had no idea how I would possibly get that house, and then found someone that made it possible. You know, that just doesn't happen unless you take that leap and have, like Eric said in the very beginning, have faith. Have faith in your dream and take the steps. And sometimes you take a leap. Sometimes you take baby steps. Sometimes you take a leap. But take those actions. Okay. So no person can succeed who is not filled with desire to advance. And that's the other like secret ingredient in this potion is faith, action, desire. If you have a burning desire for something, and I know you all have had a burning desire for something, so you know what that feeling is, grab that feeling. That's what you need to have to move forward and actually attain a goal, is this burning desire to attain it.
Yeah, and it speaks to the inspiration, like having the inspiration and the driving. Yeah.
And falling in love. You want to fall in love with your desire, with your dream. That's important because, you know, we all know what that is, right? In terms of, we know we've all felt that at some point. And so if you can fall in love with your dream, that is going to put you in a vibrational match with what it is that you're looking for. And that's huge.
Really important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're back to I can. Keep the I can attitude. Affirm it constantly. Just keep telling it. You know, I used to ride my bike, and there's a bridge that's, you know, a fair incline. And coming back was hard. Getting over it was fine. Coming back was hard. And I would always say, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And it was like the little train that could. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. I know I can. And I would get over the bridge. So that I can attitude is very, very important. And I think, Athena, you're going to be speaking about that a little bit more later, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll leave that one. Make a mental picture. Hold in mind that which you are aspiring to achieve. And we've talked about this a lot, you know, visioning and holding that picture clear in your mind, living inside of that dream and coming from the person that you want to become.
Yeah, and it's like what I was mentioning earlier about setting that anchor, you know, out there in the front. You know, that is that mental picture of where you're wanting to go, what you're wanting to create. So.
And when you're developing that mental picture, be really specific. The more specific you are, the better. And you want to, like I said, you want to fall in love with that mental picture. It's super, super important. And I keep emphasizing that, but it's true. It's very true. And,
yeah, because one of my favorite stories, Eric, is my cousin, who is pretty good at this, by the way. And she said to herself, I would love to have a cathedral ceiling. Wasn't very specific, just said I would love to have a cathedral ceiling. And this is the God's honest truth. 2 weeks later, there was a tornado and it blew off the roof of her house. And she said, well, now I have my cathedral ceiling. So you the more specific you are, I think the safer you're going to be.
Absolutely.
The safer you're going to be. And also, too, you may be thinking, well, I don't know all the details yet of exactly what I want. So you can start with what you would consider a smaller vision and continue to add the details in. You can progress. Everything's a progression. So it may look one way, revisit it, a couple months later, however often that you would like, and update that for yourself. So you can start from where you are, like Andrea was talking about earlier. Start with what you have. If all you can do is put down some generalities about what it is that you want, go ahead and do that. And then next, add some things in. You don't have to sit down and make a 20-page vision with as much detail as possible before you start. You can just start with generalities and then keep moving from that.
It's like being in a dark room, and let's say your goal is to get to the other end and you've got a dimmer switch. Initially you can hardly tell what your goal is, like what it is that you're moving towards. But let's just assume that every time you take a step closer, that you turn up the dimmer switch just a little bit more into focus. You start to see detail, you start to see a little bit more. So the more steps you take, the higher the light comes on, and eventually you reach your goal. And
right.
So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Aha. Begin with persistence. Be consistent. Make a consistent and persistent effort towards your vision, towards your dream. And you work. I've said this over and over again. You work from your dream, not to your dream.
Yeah, and that's true, because it was what I was mentioning before. It's the vision is out in front of you. It's from your mind, you see it in front of you, and you're moving towards it as opposed to something pushing you.
Right.
You're not going to it. It's actually pulling you.
Being drawn to, absolutely. Yeah. And being persistent and consistent is clear. So, as coaches, we all tell our clients to make sure that you write your vision down. And that you look at it on a regular basis, that you're actually reviewing it, you're looking at it, and that will help you to get clarity, and it'll help you to that'll be persistent, right? If you look at it, let's say once in the morning and maybe once at night before going to bed, you got your persistent, and you're consistent at looking at it as well, and you're changing it as new things are coming up as well.
Well, and consistent action creates momentum. So whenever you're doing something, it's very important to be very consistent in your effort, because if you're not consistent, the energy just decreases.
Right. And it's just like using this, the picture that we have on the screen right now. Say you're pushing that boulder, moving it up the hill, and then you stop and then it rolls back down.
Right.
And then it's easier. That's why even if it's a smallest step forward, it's a step forward. So that's where consistency doesn't have to be interpreted as I'm making huge leaps every day. Maybe your goal is 20 phone calls, for something for your business, but if you made 2 or you made 1, it was in the direction of where you were going. It wasn't a negative, for that. So even the smallest steps are still on that pattern of consistency, and then you'll build to where it is that you're wanting to go.
Yeah. Practice making decisions clearly and promptly. Procrastination, which is another entire webinar, kills ambition. If you make a clear decision, just like my house, right? I said I wanted to move. I said I wanted to move. I wasn't clear. I wasn't prompt. I was just putting it out there and letting it be. But when I made that very clear decision, and it was prompt, I mean, the next day I had my house on the market. When you're clear and prompt, things happen. When you procrastinate, it all goes right to heck.
Yeah, and successful people, they do make those decisions quickly on what they want, and then they start making actions towards that.
Yeah, we talked about fear, like the polar opposite of fear is understanding. And in this case, the polar opposite of procrastination is decision. Make a decision.
Yep, and action.
And action.
Yeah. In all situations, you are greater than the circumstances or conditions that surround you. And this is something that all three of us believe with our whole hearts, that you are all greater than any circumstance, situation, or condition. That all you have to know is that you have a greater power with you at all times, and that with the right thinking, you can get through anything and be, do, or have anything.
Yeah, it's moving from condition-driven living, where it's like, I'm going to make decisions based on what's right in front of me and what other people have given their opinions about, as opposed to what is it that I want, being more vision-driven. What do I want? Where am I going? What have I decided? And then you're actually seeking counsel from people that are where you want to be, instead of seeking opinions from people who don't have the experience. So being mindful of the difference between those.
Yeah, and it comes down to creating a life that by design as opposed to by default. By default, meaning your circumstances, your conditions, the people around you that you're surrounded with by right now. Let's say you want to move to your goal is to you want to make a lot of money. I don't know. Let's say you want to make $1 million, and you want to be serving. You want to be very good at what you do, whatever business that is. But you're going to have to. One of the things that you're going to do is you're going to associate with people who are used to making that kind of money. And like you said, you're going to seek counsel of people who know what success looks like in that case. So you're actually creating, so your circumstances are going to change, right? The people, the knowledge you're going to have is going to change. So you're creating a life by design as opposed to by default, which is status quo, which is you're just going to stay where you are.
Yeah, you're not letting your circumstances dictate who you are or how you act or what you do. You're creating your life consciously.
Correct.
Know that you cannot fail until you give up. You can never fail if you never give up. And okay, so I hear that question, well, if I never give up, but I never get what I want, right? Like, when do you know when to give up? Well, the only time that you ever know is, have I done everything that I can possibly do? And who was it that said, was Winston Churchill? I think, I could be wrong about that, who said, if you think you've done everything that you think you can do, trust me, you haven't. There's still something else you can do. If you're truly in love with your dream, don't give up. There's books written about it, 3 Feet from Gold. You keep going until you have achieved what you want, or until it doesn't make any sense for you anymore. Not that you're tired or that you just don't think you can, but you're in love with something else.
And being human, you have the right to make every decision that you can. So looking at the situation, evaluating, that's where awareness, self-discovery, and maybe at a point in your life that made sense to you, and that's what you wanted at that point in your life. And things have changed. You're like, I'm a different person now. I'm in a different place, and my desires have changed. So then as you're growing, as you're progressing, maybe what you wanted at that point, it's now adapted and molded to something new that you're wanting. So that is fine too. Mm-hmm. So as you're progressing, as you're on your journey, you will continue to succeed, but you've made the choice. You've made the choice to say, that's not really what I want anymore. I really want this. And that's okay. And other people around you can say, be the naysayers, like, oh, you gave up on that or whatever. It's like, but that wasn't really for me. I've discovered that this is where I want to go. And that's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
And I think that's it. That's all I have for you.
Yeah. And then what I'll do is Andrea wasn't mentioning something that I do have something to share on the can. So while I'm uploading that and finding that, if there was anything else anybody wanted to say.
Well, the most important thing when it comes to success, know what you want, take action towards it, have faith, and listen to your intuition. Let your intuition guide you and keep moving forward. If it's baby steps, if it's large leaps, it doesn't matter. As long as you're moving forward, you will find success.
And be grateful for every step that you do take.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to stop, thank yourself for the steps, for the actions that you've taken, and just be very grateful.
Yeah,
that's important.
And then so as we were talking about, I can, that is going to help you move forward. So you may be thinking, well, what does the opposite do? So that's what I have for you here. So let me go ahead and start this up. So the power of can't. So if you say can't, so the power of can't, the word can't makes strong people weak. It blinds people who can see. It saddens happy people. And it turns brave people into cowards. It robs a genius of their brilliance. It causes rich people to think poorly and limits the achievements of that great person living inside of all of us. And I was actually talking with a friend of mine very recently, and he, on his speed dial, has 5 billionaires on his speed dial. And he mentioned one in particular, and he said, knowing this person, I've known him for years, and he can't keep a relationship. There's so many things that he has self-doubts on, that he has billions of dollars, but he's thinking poorly. He thinks that he can't do something. So just thinking about that, the money is not going to create everything that you're wanting. It's who you are as a person. And it's very important, the difference between thinking I can or I can't. So just so you know that is available to you there as I can't. So that's what I can't will do. So here we've been talking about the law of success, and you can. So yeah.
Well, and the universe doesn't hear whether I can or I can't, right? It just hears
everything after the word. Everything after the word, either I can or I can't. It will do exactly what's after that word.
Right.
And let's say you're doing something quite scary, and there's subconsciously you're like, I can't. Write it anyways, and practice it. Do affirmations, because eventually your subconscious mind is going to accept it.
Right.
And it's
And
gonna,
and those incremental movement forward will help it.
right, will help as well. Absolutely, and it'll help you gain confidence as you go as well. So, all right, thank you for that. That I like that little I can't. That's good. Thank you for that information.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so Eric, if you want to bring us home, we're getting to the top of the hour.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us today. And if you would like to explore how you can gain a further understanding of how to ask the questions that can change your life, simply click on there's a request contact button in the chat area. And so that you can actually choose who you would like from the three of us that are here today to contact you. So there's either Andrea, myself, Eric, or Athena. And this is your special gift of a complimentary strategy session. And we'll also post some information on our Facebook page as well. And remember to like us on Facebook to receive life-enhancing tips and notifications of upcoming events. And the address, of course, is in the chat area. And we've got, let me just have a look here for your reference. There is a calendar that you can download that lists all of our online events that are happening this year. And if you're watching this video as a replay, you can find this link to the calendar in the description area of the video. Now, you can see our Mastermind Magic members live all around the world. And so make sure to check us on our Facebook page for upcoming events and details. And speaking of upcoming events, I believe that Athena has an event that's coming up soon.
So I have a few. So actually here, let's see if you can kind of see it. But even if you can't, you can go to my Facebook business page, and that's at Life to Design, LIFE, the number 2 DESIGN. So on here, we have our Mastermind Magic. Next month, we're going to be doing another Mastermind Magic webinar, and that's going to be talking about the law of non-resistance. So we're going to be having that the second Wednesday of the month. You can check that out on the Facebook page. And then also too, there's going to be actually a 4-part webinar series, and all that information will be on my website. We're going to be starting with the importance of why. So really setting that vision for your business. And the next one after that is going to be on your ideal client. So that information is going to be coming up. But like I said, you can just come here to the business Facebook page and you'll be able to gain all the information there. So I think Eric actually has something that he has coming up as well. So we'll get Eric off of mute.
Can you hear me now? Wonderful. All right. All right. I have an event coming up this coming Saturday, July 14th. And I'm just, see if I can show this information here. I'm having difficulty. Give me a second. Taking a while to upload. So, well, I'll just share a little bit about the information. So it's actually in Milton, Ontario, Canada. So if you're here, it'd be wonderful for you to drop by. There will be some information posted on my Facebook page, Be Your Best Self, BUR Best Self on Facebook. And we'll have the information as well on the webinars for you to check out. And yeah, it'd be wonderful to have you. And it's about an hour long, and it'll be this coming Saturday. So thank you.
Did it come up? Did it upload so we can see your flyer?
It said that it did. Oh,
so, yeah.
Hold on for a quick second here. I missed a step, so let me just do that. Okay. All right. Success. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay. So there's a lot of information there. I'll just leave it up there for a little bit. So some of the things that I'll be covering in the vision workshop is we'll be looking at creating a crystal clear vision of the life that you would love, that you desire. We're going to explore the 4 domains of a full spectrum life, discover a 5-point test for determining whether your dream is right for you. We'll find out about the #1 factor that causes people to lose steam when going after a dream and how to stay motivated and override it. And the last thing we'll look at is we'll be looking at the distinction between approach goals versus avoidance goals, and much, much more. So this is the information, and it'd be great to have you if you're in this area, in the Toronto area. Thank you. I'll just get everybody to come back on board here. Okay, and let me just finish it off here. So we are very excited. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to being with you again. And the next online event that we'll be having is on Wednesday, August the 8th at 3 p.m. Pacific time or 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are going to be covering the law of, does anybody remember what law we're covering? The law of non-resistance. Thank you. Yes, the law of non-resistance is going to be our topic. Very exciting law. So, and if you guys want to,
and then if you haven't registered for it, it's in the chat area. So it's just posted right there in the chat area. But you can go to our Facebook page to find that as well. So you can find the series. You can actually, if this is the first one that you've seen, you inside of the discussion area of the webinar series, there's links to all of the other videos that we've done with the different laws, so you can access that as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, guys. It was wonderful to have you. That's a wrap. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.